All right, we're going to go to the APEC VIP hotline, cutting edge training for the serious athlete, apecgo.com, when the results show when the athletes hit the field, much like this show, as a matter of fact.
Absolutely. Come on now.
With us right now from 1310 The Ticket is our old friend Donovan Lewis. How you doing, Donovan?
I am fantastic, man. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. One of the great regrets in my life is that all of the stuff that has happened between last Tuesday and now is old news now, and I can't really talk to you about Lance Armstrong and Manti Te'o's fake ex-dead girlfriend.
Man, isn't that something? It's the most. I think it's the most amazing week of stories ever, and especially just out of the blue. All of a sudden, there's some fake girlfriend. I didn't even understand it for the first day and a half. I was like, what is going on? Man.
Hey, I think she's going to call plays.
As many girlfriends as I faked around here, I don't understand why it's such a bad thing. I was thinking, hey, that's normal, right?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. I mean, she's perfect for this job,
Right,
wow.
Right.
And she's probably as qualified to be a play caller as anybody else that Jerry's going to name, right?
Oh, wow. There's the whole tie-in right there. There you go. Let's see if she can get the thing done around here.
So based on what I'm reading today, and correct me if I'm wrong, because you obviously have been plugged into this a lot closer than I have.
Okay.
But Jerry apparently had one of his little impromptu Mobile, Alabama news conferences this afternoon.
Right.
And he still hasn't come right out and said that Bill Callahan's going to take over as the play caller.
Right. He just said that Jason Garrett won't be calling plays this year, and it's just that scene over there is just so it tell you it should be a reality show. I think we talked about that last week. It's like if you have the guy that's running your team, and that's the head coach, and you have all faith and all confidence in him that he can run this team, then I can guarantee you Jason Garrett wants to call plays. That's his thing. That's what he's been doing the last 2.5 years. So now all of a sudden Garrett realizes that he doesn't want to call plays and he's A-okay with everything? No. It's because Jerry walked in and said, look, Garrett, you want to keep your job, you're not calling plays. And Garrett said, okay, I kind of want to keep my job. And he said, well, you know what? We're going to bring someone in to call plays. And I just don't see how that is going to make this thing any better, because like I said today on our show, I think I'm in the minority on this, but I think I trust Garrett more as a play caller than a head coach.
Really?
Yeah, because I think everyone just automatically thinks that if he's not calling plays, that he'll have everything under control. All these game management things that's been going on the last couple of years, 2.5 years, it's all because Garrett couldn't concentrate because he was calling plays. You think that's the truth? I don't think so.
No, I mean,
I don't know if I trust him even with game management. I don't know if he can be just a really good overall head coach. Because
well, I don't know how you can even determine that when you basically have you've gutted the guy. I mean, you've completely emasculated him,
cut his legs off right from under him. Right. So now all of a sudden he's supposed to feel good about what the situation is going on. And I know he's going to be in all these offensive meetings when they make the game plan. It's just not going to, hey, you can't do anything. It's going to be his offense. It's going to be his deal. Callahan's just going to call the plays. So you mean to tell me, okay, so they're going in the game, right, next year, and there's something going on defensively. You think Garrett has everything under control on the defense to say, well, you know what, we don't want to do that, let's do this? He has no idea. None whatsoever. So I just don't think his strength is game management and overall game planning, and he's going to have to go over there and chew out Monty Kiffin because Monty Kiffin isn't running something the correct way. Really?
Not if he didn't hire him.
Right. And now that if he's been running his 3-4 this whole time, and now they switch to the 4-3, I don't even know if Garrett can explain the 3-4 to 4-3. I don't know. I just don't see how overall this is going to help Garrett. I think Garrett gets into this thing with calling plays and all this. That's his thing. And we wouldn't say a thing about anything if it worked. They say McCarthy, he calls his own plays in Green Bay, and it just doesn't look like he's lost on the sideline.
Right.
It just looks like Jason Garrett is absolutely lost. And I might be comparing him to, really great coaches. But you see Belichick and Belichick is in complete control. I don't think Belichick really knows that much offensively about what's going on, but it doesn't matter. That dude is in complete control of the sidelines, and there's no two ways to think about it. But with Garrett, I just don't see it.
Here's the difference. When you talked about McCarthy, you talk about Sean Payton, these guys all had play-calling experience at some time in their careers before they became head coaches. Jason Garrett had never called a play in his life prior to coming to the Cowboys, and he was only doing that for, about a year before he got handed the keys there? Is that am I wrong?
I think he was here for, 3 seasons?
Okay, all right, so that's when he called the plays. All right, okay.
Yeah, he was here 3 seasons calling plays, and then that's when he got promoted to head coach. So, I don't know. It's just, and, you have these conspiracy theorists out there with the whole Monty Kiffin, Bill Callahan thing saying, hey, Gruden might be around the corner. He's making life uncomfortable for Garrett so Garrett can leave so he can bring Gruden in. Well, how about this? If you really want Gruden and you think that's the coach for you, fire Garrett and bring him in. You have the keys to do that. If you're Jerry, this is your team. You're the GM, you're the owner. If you want Gruden to come in and think he'll be a better fit, then get rid of your coach you have now and bring the other coach in. It's as simple as that.
Listen, this is my theory on that. It all adds up. That would make perfect sense to bring Gruden in, but I really do believe that Jerry, in his heart of hearts, believes that these moves he's making now are going to make the Cowboys 12-4 next year, and he'll continue to be able to have his little ventriloquist puppet sitting on his lap, turning and looking and dropping his jaw every once in a while when Jerry talks, and he can keep the situation the way it is, where he's got his hands on everything. Because if Gruden comes in here, Gruden's going to tell him to get the hell out of the locker room.
Right. Well, you know what? Then he's had entirely too many Papa John's pizzas. If that's the case.
I bet he's got a fake girlfriend. He's got a fake girlfriend.
Because it's almost as though, now follow me here, I might be going crazy, but it's almost as though he's given even more of the keys to Garrett, because now if you're taking play calling off his plate, then he has more time to oversee the entire team and make all these decisions. So if that's what you want, and I don't think that's what Jerry wants.
I guarantee you.
No, it's not what he wants, but that's what he's getting.
Yeah, but he's not going to give him that authority. I mean, he'll override anything he wants to override.
I don't see why any reputable coach at all would take this job.
Well, and I also brought this up last hour. If Jason Garrett really, really wanted to do something that would enhance his career, he should resign.
Boy, it might not. That might not be a bad idea for him, because it's almost, okay, so you really brought me here because I was the offensive coordinator. You think I'm this offensive whiz, and now I'm head coaching this team, and now you strip play calling from me. Why do you even want me here? Why am I here?
Seriously.
You can just sit back and think that, because you just chopped his legs off. That was his thing. That's his in-game thing. He's calling plays, and he's not doing it anymore, so what's the point? If you want, if you're trying to make life uncomfortable, I know I heard a few people saying, he wanted him to get rid of his brother, and he's stripping play calling. He wants him to get out of here, or, make him think about quitting. Why even do that high school stuff? If I do this and I do that, then he'll do this. No, get to the point. This is an NFL franchise. If you want the dude gone, you want to bring in someone else, get rid of him. You don't have to have a reason. Didn't have a reason for getting rid of Jimmy. They just couldn't get along, and he fired him, and he brought in someone else. So if that's what you really want, I just can't see how Jerry can sit up in his office and think that what I've done is going to make this team better. I just don't see it, especially if you don't improve the offensive or defensive lines around here.
Yes.
Surely it's not. It's going to be the same thing. And with this offense around here, the offense is really not that bad. It's prolific. You have Romo with a lot of yards and people doing a lot of things. The skill positions are set. But if you keep rolling out, I don't care who you bring in to call plays or whatever, you have that bad of an offensive line, then what can you do? There's so much, you're just handcuffed because you're not improving. You're not giving Garrett or Rob Ryan a full deck to play with.
Nope.
If you're going to keep doing things the way you're doing them right now. So who can succeed in this in this area. I don't know a lot of people who could.
And then you watch these two teams that are getting ready to play in the Super Bowl, and San Francisco has three number one draft picks on their offensive line.
You just look at the line of scrimmage, Bryan. You'd see how they just absolutely kill. I mean, they just, and I'm not trying to even talk bad about Ray Lewis. That may have been a little pun, but I wasn't trying to. They hit hard.
Yes, they do.
And they fly, and they just don't give a rip about what's going on at the line of scrimmage. Both of those teams, and you got to see and look at that blueprint and say, man, we've got to get nasty. I was talking to my dad last night about this, and he said that, you know what, those teams have thugs. They have thugs that just don't care, and they're going to go out there and hit you in the mouth, and if you cry about it, they're going to go out there and hit you harder. And they're going to keep going out there, and they're going to keep hitting you, and they're going to keep hitting you harder. And it really is fun and cool to see them play football like that. I know a lot of people think, oh, that might be boring, Baltimore and San Francisco, but man, it's just beautiful to watch how they built those teams and how they go about it. They don't have a dynamic quarterback, Baltimore, but he makes the plays when they need him to make it, and he doesn't lose ball games. I love the way Kaepernick played last week, because the week before, when he ran had all those yards, the most rushing yards for a quarterback ever, you would think, you know what, he's going to come back next week and do the same thing because he's really that dynamic. He had 2 carries.
Yeah.
Because he didn't need to. Because that dude is so young, and to have that game plan and to go out there and play it like that with the zone reads and him not being selfish with the ball and all that, dude, it's fantastic. It really is good to watch, man. I love watching good football.
Oh, and you got two organizations that know exactly how to do it. I mean, you watch the Ravens, and I mean, what Ozzie Newsome has put together with that team. And then you look at what's going on at San Francisco, and you look at the leadership abilities both those Harbaughs have, and you see that reflected in the personalities of their team. What's Jason Garrett going to offer?
I know.
Emotionally for that football team. How are you going to motivate a team when you basically have had your legs cut out from under you?
Full command of the sidelines, those Harbaugh boys.
Totally.
Both of them. And it's not even a clue on who runs that team. Who's the authority over there? There's no doubt about it. So, and it's a trip how we had the Final Four in the NFL last weekend, and Baltimore and Atlanta really wanted Jason Garrett to coach their team.
Yeah.
And Garrett turned them down to coach the Cowboys. You think they're going to, whew, boy, I'm sure glad he didn't take this job.
What kind of more, man, that makes you question his judgment right there,
Right. And Atlanta and Baltimore is just breathing a sigh of relief because they just don't know what they would get if he had been on the sidelines.
Of course, you don't know because,
you really don't.
I mean, when you got a GM that's picking the players, and that's awful, and you got a GM hiring your assistant coaches, and that's awful. And then you've got no authority because the players can go over your head and go straight to the owner if they want to.
Right.
That's awful.
No, you're right.
I mean, I don't know how you could. Nobody can determine whether Jason Garrett's a good head coach or not because good night. I mean, he just doesn't. There's no power. There's no bullet in the gun.
This situation here is really bad. It really is, and I don't think Jerry's done enough to make it better for next year. Now, you go into the draft and you start filling some holes and you start making some things happen. Maybe this thing can turn around, but you just look at it right now and the changes he's made, and are you really confident that next year they'll be playing in the last game to win a division?
Not with him drafting.
Yeah, I don't see it right now. So it's a lot of work to do around here, man. Whole lot of work to do.
And then you get the story coming out from Tim Brown today about Callahan throwing the Super Bowl. What do you make of that?
Well, you know what? Tim Brown was on our show last year telling us the same thing. And when we had Ticket Stock a couple years ago, he was the featured guest, and he told us the same thing right there. So it's hard to imagine a coach not wanting to go in there and win the big prize. I don't see that, but that's what he thinks. You've had a couple of players out now kind of, saying that Tim Brown's kind of full of it. So maybe, he just had an issue with Callahan, and that's his part of the story, and it's always 3 sides, So we're just getting one side. But, yeah, it's funny that he was on our show about a year ago telling us the exact same thing. Right when Bill Callahan was hired as the offensive lines coach here, we had him in studio, and he told us the exact same thing.
So he's sticking to the story.
He really is. Yeah, he is not wavering from that story 1 inch. You're right.
Man, okay. Well, what do you think about these two teams that are going to be in the Super Bowl now?
I think it's going to be a fun game, man. Really, really fun. And you know, I was sticking to my notion that it never goes the way we think it's going to go. I think everyone thought San Francisco and New England. I was very surprised that Baltimore went up there. I knew they weren't scared to go up there and play in New England. They're not afraid at all. And they went up there and just second half, just beat them up, bullied them around. I mean, that was classic bullying on the playground stuff right there. And I for some reason, I think Baltimore can continue to bully San Francisco. So if you're asking me who I think is going to win, I think Baltimore is going to get this.
Really?
There's just something about, you know, momentum. Oh, they're both winning because they won a couple games to get there, but the whole Ray Lewis thing, and this is his last stand, and I always contend that the locker room is a different animal than what everyone thinks that you should think. You know, this whole thing wouldn't hardly affect anyone else that this one guy's leaving and this is his last game, but that dude has been the heart and soul of that team for 17 years. And if you don't think those guys in there want to win that last game for Ray Lewis, then you're drinking. Then buy me a drink because we need to both drink together.
Wow. So
and
that's
they really, really do. And I think that might be the edge for them to go out there and get it. Plus, San Francisco's field goal kicker is really struggling this year.
Yes, he is, and that does scare me.
And if it comes down to a field goal for San Francisco, I don't know if they have a whole bunch of trust that he's going to go out there and get it done. I know he's a veteran. He's been in this league for a long time, but, boy, I think mentally he's not up there like he was before, and that might be the deciding factor.
Now, the good news on that is if he does miss a key field goal, Harbaugh may just crush him.
He just might. He just might. You never know.
Wow, crazy stuff, man. Donovan, great talking to you as always, buddy. We really appreciate you coming on. And, you know, if you want to take on the play calling, chores, that'd be cool.
Oh, you know what? I didn't even think about it. Next week, you call me. I'll be in New Orleans.
Are you going?
Yeah. Oh. We'll be there for the whole week. So give me a call. We'll talk Super Bowl next week.
Outstanding. Well, we'll look forward to it. I can't wait to hear from you, man.
All right,
man. Thanks for doing this for us. Donovan Lewis from 1310 The Ticket on Bryan Houston Sports Radio Live on 99.3 Talk FM.